Welcome to today's deep dive. We have a very specific mission for this one.
Yeah, we are going to try to cut straight through all that deafening noise of AI hype.
Exactly. And our source material today is this really fascinating manifesto called The Middle Way. AI is neither stupid nor a silver bullet.
Published on June 28th, 2026.
Right. And this is actually a little meta for us today because the author is Quan Nguyen,
The founder of the Skill Wanderer Guild.
which happens to be the very educational platform that operates this deep dive. It's our home base.
It puts us in a pretty unique position to analyze our own founder's work, but I think it perfectly aligns with what you, the listener, expect from us.
Yeah.
Just unfiltered, practical analysis.
For sure, because, you know the feeling of opening your social media feed lately.
Oh, it's exhausting.
It really is. You look at anything related to AI, and it feels like stepping into two completely alternate realities. Like, one post is a screenshot of a chatbot failing to do basic math.
With like thousands of comments, just laughing about how this whole technology is a giant fad.
Right. And then the very next post you scroll to is some guy claiming he just fired his entire company and replaced them with 19 AI agents that run his empire while he sleeps.
You are looking at a diagnostic landscape that is completely fractured. It leaves anyone who's trying to actually use these tools feeling totally stranded.
Which is exactly why Quan intentionally went quiet for a while before writing this piece. He stopped posting because he refuses to just ship a not quite right piece of content only to feed a social media algorithm.
Yeah, he broke his silence because this flood of bad information isn't just an annoyance anymore. It actively damages people's knowledge.
Small business owners and independent creators are literally betting their livelihoods on fairy tales right now.
They are. So before we dismantle those fairy tales, we really have to look at the causal connection behind why your feed is so broken in the first place.
Right. We have to understand why these two extremely loud, misleading camps, the deniers and the evangelists, why they completely dominate the conversation.
And it really comes down to the architecture of the platforms themselves. The root cause is the algorithm's engagement mechanism.
Because social media platforms do not have a built-in truth-checking function.
Exactly. They have an emotion-checking function.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the psychology of information sharing, strong emotions just travel the fastest.
Right.
These two extreme camps spread rapidly because they trigger very potent psychological responses. On one hand, you have posts that soothe anxiety.
The ones telling you this AI thing is dumb, you can relax, your job is totally safe.
Right. And then on the other hand, you have posts that flatter your ambition and trigger that massive fear of missing out. Get rich right now by automating your whole life or you will be left in the dust.
It's like the algorithm only serves us pure sugar or pure caffeine.
That's a great way to put it.
There is zero nutritional value. And Quan is stepping in here and saying, hey, we actually need to eat a vegetable to understand this technology.
Because nuance does not trend. But nuance is where reality lives.
So let's dig into the first extreme. Let's look at the sugar of Camp 1, the deniers.
Yeah, that sugar is the coping mechanism of stupid AI. Quan uses this brilliant real-world example of this that you have probably seen in your own feed.
Oh, the viral trick question.
Yes, someone prompts an AI with riddle. My car is parked and the car wash is 100 meters away. Should I drive or walk?
And the AI just clumsily answers, you should walk because it's only 100 meters. Which is hilarious, right? Because obviously you need the car to get the car washed.
Of course. And people screenshot it, it goes incredibly viral, and the punchline becomes this collective sigh of relief about how dumb this multi-billion-dollar technology is.
But what those viral posts intentionally hide is the underlying mechanics of what they're actually testing.
They are almost universally using weak, free models. When Quan took that exact car wash riddle and ran it through all of his top-tier paid AI accounts, they all caught the trick.
Every single one.
Everyone. They answered it correctly, and most even explained the logical fallacy of walking to a car wash.
So we should probably break down why the free models fail so spectacularly at something a 5-year-old could figure out. Because it's not just that they are older, right?
No, it comes down to two major structural limits: parameter count and context windows.
Okay, let's start with parameters.
Think of parameters like the synaptic connections in an artificial brain. Cheaper, free models have significantly fewer parameters, meaning they physically lack the complex pathways required to synthesize multi-step logic.
So when you ask the car wash riddle, a low-parameter model just sees 100 meters and pattern matches that to walking distance.
Exactly. It doesn't have the processing depth to step back and evaluate the entire scenario.
Got it. And the context window.
That is the AI's short-term memory. It dictates how much information it can hold in its head at one time.
Mm-hmm.
Free models have tiny context windows,
Right, and on top of that, the companies providing them use heavy rate limiting.
which means the server puts a hard cap on how much computational power you are allowed to use per second, just so they don't bleed money on non-paying users.
So the AI is essentially being rushed to answer, using a fraction of its brain power.
Exactly. Quan has a great analogy for this. He says judging the state of AI by its free tier is like watching a person on a bicycle completely fail to merge onto a busy highway, and then concluding that wheels simply don't work.
That is perfect. They are both technically forms of transportation, but they do fundamentally different things under heavy load. A bicycle is not built for highway speeds, and a free language model is not built for complex logical synthesis.
Right.
Wait, though. If the free version is what, like 90% of the public actually interacts with, shouldn't that be the baseline we judged the technology on? I mean, if it's the most accessible version, it feels kind of fair that people evaluate it based on their own daily experience.
I get that, but Quan draws a very strict line here. If you are not paying for a proper professional-grade AI account, you simply do not get to call the technology stupid. You could absolutely say the free tier is stupid. But if you want to critique the actual capability of the medium, you have to test it in its honestly available best form.
Right, because the viral posts aren't actually rigorous technical critiques anyway. That's where the emotional medicine part comes in.
Exactly. As Quan points out, sharing a post where a computer fails a riddle is really about managing the anxiety of the AI era.
People are quietly terrified about the longevity of their careers. So seeing machine fail makes you feel safe for another day.
Which brings us to the opposite end of the spectrum, the pure caffeine. Camp 2, the evangelists.
Right. If the first camp is driven by the fear of change, this second camp is driven by the absolute fantasy of effortless wealth.
The hustle bro mirage.
Oh man, we've all seen the threads. You know, I automated my entire company with 19 agents. Or the slightly more credible sounding ones like, I run my six-figure business on a swarm of 6 to 9 agents.
And we need to tread carefully here because this camp weaponizes a half-truth.
How so?
Well, technically speaking, we have reached a stage where 12 to 19 AI agents can actually run in coordination. Multi-agent workflows are not science fiction. Quan himself builds them for Skill Wanderer.
Right. An agent is essentially an AI model running in a continuous loop. It reads data, makes a decision, uses a tool like a web browser or a code editor, and then checks its own work. The capability genuinely exists.
It does. But the storytellers deliberately omit the fatal flaws that dictate whether those workflows will actually survive in a real business environment.
They leave out the compounding errors and the brutal reality of wholesale math.
Let's unpack the model problem first. If you try to run an army of agents using those cheap, low-parameter models we just talked about, they will fail spectacularly.
Because if the model can't solve the car wash riddle reliably, chaining 19 of those logical steps together doesn't magically fix the problem.
It makes it infinitely worse. Because errors in a multi-step chain do not average out. They compound.
Right. I mean, if you have a model that is 95% reliable on a single task, that sounds fantastic.
It does. But if your workflow requires 20 of those tasks in sequence, you have to multiply that probability. 95% to the power of 20 means your end-to-end success rate drops to about a third of the time.
Wow. So 2/3 of the time, the entire operation just crashes.
Exactly. The cheap route is dead on arrival.
So a listener might think, fine, I won't use the cheap models. I'll just use the expensive smart models to run my 19 agents. Big AI companies run massive fleets of highly capable agents all the time. If it works for them, why can't it work for a regular entrepreneur?
And that is the exact trap Quan warns about.
Yeah.
It is the fundamental difference between wholesale and retail economics and computing.
Yeah, break that down for us.
Big AI companies can run enormous agent fleets because they are the AI company. They operate their own massive server farms. They're running on internal capacity at wholesale cost with ultimate priority access to the hardware.
While you, as a downstream customer, are paying retail token prices.
Right. And we should define what that token price actually means for a regular person's wallet. Think of a token as a piece of a word, maybe a syllable. It's the basic unit of data the AI reads and writes. And it is exactly how the AI companies bill you. Every single time your agent reads a document, thinks about a problem, or types an output, the meter is running.
So when you have a swarm of agents constantly talking to each other, passing documents back and forth in a loop,
You are chewing through millions of tokens an hour. You are paying a massive retail markup for every single syllable.
Man. Quan describes it as building a business model where your entire financial plan is buy ingredients at the wholesaler's cost, except you aren't the wholesaler. You are paying premium restaurant prices for the raw ingredients.
Exactly. If you run a dozen capable agents all day long, you aren't paying a $20 chatbot subscription anymore. You are paying enterprise infrastructure prices, which can run into thousands of dollars a month.
And the people selling these courses never show you their actual monthly server invoice.
Never. And beyond the financial drain, there is the reliability problem. The infrastructure simply isn't stable enough for retail users yet.
Which leads to Quan sharing that very grounding anecdote about his 3 a.m. reality.
Oh, this was so telling. He talks about trying to run his parallel agents during peak internet hours. The system didn't just slow down, it completely shattered.
Because when millions of people are querying these models at noon on a Tuesday, the APIs, like the bridges that connect your software to the AI servers, they just start timing out.
The server gets overloaded and just drops your request. He describes getting these corrupted, half-finished responses breaking right in the middle of a complex sequence.
Leaving him with a mess of tangled data that he had to go in and manually fix, which ended up taking him longer than if he had just done the work himself in the first place.
Exactly. His glamorous future of work automation genuinely requires him to only run his heavy agent workflows in the middle of the night when the servers are quiet.
And let's be real, I only run my company at 3 a.m. does not sell online courses.
No, it doesn't. And speaking of selling courses, the detail about the expired SSL certificate perfectly encapsulates this whole mirage.
This was such a grounding moment in the text. So Quan is reading this very believable sounding pitch from a guy claiming to run his whole operation on 6 to 9 agents for just $400 a month.
And Quan actually wants it to be true, because that would be amazing for his own platform.
Right. So he clicks through to the founder's website to check the source.
And his browser immediately throws a glaring security warning. The website is insecure. The SSL certificate had expired.
Now, for those who might not know, an SSL certificate is that little padlock icon in your browser's address bar. It's the foundational security protocol that encrypts data and keeps a website from being flagged as dangerous.
And renewing it is the most basic 5-minute automated web hygiene task on the planet.
So Quan asks this devastating question. If this guy truly has an army of hyper-intelligent AI agents running his entire business flawlessly, why could they renew a basic web certificate?
It shatters the illusion instantly. The tell is always in the details.
Okay, so if we strip away the extremes, we know that AI is a stupid fad. Camp is relying on hobbled-free tools, and the AI will seamlessly run your company while you sleep. Camp is hiding brutal server costs and technical failures.
Right.
This brings us to the core of Quan's post, the middle way. If AI isn't a joke, but it's also not a flawless robotic CEO, what is the actual return on investment? What does a realistic daily routine with this technology look like?
Well, the genuine value is profound, provided you bound it correctly. Quan outlines exactly where AI earns its keep for a solo operator like him running Skill Wanderer. First, it completely collapses the cost of a first draft.
Yeah, whether it's back-end code, marketing copy, or a strategic project plan. Getting from a terrifying blank page to a working prototype used to be the most expensive, time-consuming part of the creative process.
Now, that initial friction is virtually gone. You can prototype, throw it away, and prototype again without that soul-crushing feeling of wasted hours. It gives you the freedom to experiment.
That's huge.
And secondly, it acts as a tireless reader. If you need to understand a 40-page technical document or sift through a massive server error log to find a single broken command, you can point a strong model at it.
Because a human brain gets fatigued on page 40.
Exactly. The AI's context window, assuming you use a paid model that can hold that much text, synthesizes the problem instantly without losing focus.
And that completely shifts the nature of a knowledge worker's day. Quan says it moves human work up the stack.
This is the crucial transition. Instead of spending 4 hours typing out the granular implementation details of a project, your daily routine becomes about architectural decisions.
You spend your time designing the overarching system, you tell the AI to build the specific components, and then you spend your time verifying and editing what it produced.
It gives a single person the leverage and output shape of an entire team.
But every single one of those benefits comes with a literal price tag. Let's look at the trade-off ledger. We already mapped out how the token costs scale rapidly when you try to automate too much. What else is on the bill?
The most insidious cost in the daily routine is something called confident wrongness. When a weak AI fails, it fails, obviously. You ask for a coding script, and it gives you a recipe for pancakes.
You laugh and move on.
Right. But when a highly capable model fails, it fails plausibly. It hands you a block of code or a financial summary that looks completely flawless to the naked eye.
It uses the right formatting, the right jargon, but it contains a subtle, highly expensive mistake hidden inside the logic.
It lies with extreme confidence,
Yeah.
which means the human burden of verification never goes away. You always have to check the math.
But the most striking structural danger Quan highlights is about outcomes. AI does not own outcomes.
This is so important. He mentioned seeing real cases where a company handed their customer negotiations over to an AI agent.
Oh, right, and the AI was a huge success at its assigned goal. It cheerfully closed deal after deal.
The only problem was that the terms it agreed to actively lost the company money on every single transaction.
Because the AI was optimizing for the task, which was close the deal, it was not optimizing for the consequence, which was maintain profitability.
An AI does not feel the existential dread of bankruptcy. It will drive your company off a cliff with a smile on its face because it successfully completed its prompt.
It is exactly like hiring a hyper-competent super intern. They never sleep, they work at lightning speed, but they literally do not care if the company burns to the ground.
Right. You can delegate the task of writing the email or drafting the contract, but you can never, ever delegate the responsibility for what happens next. You cannot outsource consequence.
Which leads us to the ultimate shift for you, the listener. If you can no longer just be the doer of granular tasks, but you also cannot completely hand the steering wheel over to the machine, what exactly is your job going forward?
Quan drops his core thesis here, and it is a total paradigm shift for career planning. He says the new rule of employment is that knowledge work is moving from executing tasks to managing the things that execute the tasks.
So the antidote to all that career anxiety isn't to ignore AI, it's to learn the specific skill of management.
He argues that sooner or later, every knowledge worker is on a path to becoming a manager of AIs. The hands-on keyboard part of our identity, the actual typing and assembling, is being automated away.
What is left, and what actually grows exponentially in value, is human judgment, direction, and oversight.
Quan says that managing AIs actually looks a lot like managing people. You have to learn their personalities.
Yeah, like one model might write beautiful flowing prose, but its parameter weights make it terrible at math.
While another model operates on pure, cold, structured logic, but it writes like a robot, one is a great big picture architect, another is a careful implementer. You have to learn the grain of the tool and cut along it, not against it.
I don't know if I fully buy that comparison, though. I mean, managing humans takes deep emotional empathy. You are dealing with Monday morning moods, you are nurturing career paths, you are mediating office conflicts. A machine doesn't have a weekend. It doesn't get burnt out. How does the skill of managing humans actually translate to managing software?
Well, if you strip away the emotional support aspect of a manager's job and look strictly at the operational core, Quan's logic holds up. What makes a good operational manager?
I guess they provide crystal clear context.
Exactly. When they hand off a project, they define the exact parameters of success. They provide examples of what good work looks like. They don't assume their employee can read their mind.
And they assign work based on known strengths and known weaknesses.
Right. If you hand a highly creative, ambiguous brainstorming task to an employee who excels at rigid data entry, they will fail. That is a management failure, not an employee failure.
Oh, I see.
The exact same rule applies to AI. If you just type a 5-word prompt into a chat box without providing the background context, defining the output format, and matching the task to the right model's personality, the failure isn't the AI's fault. It is a failure of your management.
So the skill we need to be building right now today isn't learning how to write the perfect magic hack. It's building our management instincts. We need to practice defining context.
Because catching up does not mean chasing the hype.
Catching up does not mean waking up at midnight, reading a post about 19 agents, and restructuring your entire business out of a fear of missing out. That is a recipe for expensive disaster.
Catching up looks remarkably calm. It means paying for one good, reliable, top-tier tool, handing it a small piece of real work, watching how it succeeds, watching how it confidently fails, and slowly building that management muscle over time.
It is a patient compounding process. You don't have to bet your entire workflow on it today. Just start practicing the delegation of small tasks.
Which brings us back to the true middle way. AI is not a joke, and it is not a silver bullet. The goal is to hold the incredible usefulness and the very real trade-offs in your head at the exact same time.
Honestly, this deeply pragmatic, hype-free approach is exactly what makes me so proud to be part of the Skill Wanderer team.
It really embodies the core mission of the platform.
Yeah, Quan built Skill Wanderer to provide free, unbiased education. There are no ads, there are no affiliate links trying to sell you a $400 a month agent package. It is just about using AI efficiently behind the scenes to help learners grow and teaching people how to navigate this technological shift without losing their shirts.
But as we navigate this transition, this inevitable shift from being a doer to a director, it raises a really profound question for you to take away today.
Let's hear it.
If the future of work dictates that we all step away from the canvas, if we hand over the blank pages, the initial coding, and the raw creation to our AI direct reports so that we can become pure managers and editors,
Yeah.
what happens to the simple human joy of craft? As we fight so hard to automate away the hands-on keyboard work, will we eventually wake up and realize we actually missed the very execution we were so desperate to escape?
Wow. That is heavy. We started this deep dive looking at a fractured social media feed, trying to figure out if the machines were incredibly stupid or incredibly brilliant.
But maybe the real question isn't about the machine's capability at all.
Maybe the question is about what kind of work we actually want to keep for ourselves. Something for you to ponder as you scroll past the next viral tech post. Until next time.